Hi, my name is Ron Tallman, and had a very significant hearing loss. And I'd like to talk to you for a few minutes about my journey. I'm also a veteran and served 22 years in the United States Navy. And as I was getting ready to retire from the Navy back in 1992, we all at that time had to take a retirement physical. And during that physical, after everything was said and done, I sat down with the doctor and we went over all the ins and outs of stuff they found. And he told me that I had a profound hearing loss in my left ear. I told him, "Doc, I hear fine. I don't see any problems." And he says, "You probably do hear fine today, but as you get older, this hearing loss is going to give you problems." Well, fast forward, I retired from the Navy and I went back to school. I got an electronics degree and went to work for Intel. My journey with Intel started in 1997, and I also received my first pair of hearing aids right there at that same time. My daughter used to come in at dinner time and say, "How come the TV's up so loud?" My wife used to have to repeat herself numerous times. And so my daughter walked up to me and tapped me on the shoulder one afternoon and said, "Dad, go get your hearing tested." And so I did, and it was just right after in 1997 when I went to work for Intel and went in, and I had a hearing loss, more profound in my left ear, but there was a reduction in my right ear also. So I started wearing hearing aids, and I wore hearing aids for 15 years. 15 pretty good years. In that period of time, I went through approximately 7 generations of different hearing aids. Each set getting a little bit better than the previous set. And otherwise, the technology got better over the years, and it allowed me to hear better over the years. There came a time when, visiting with my audiologist, that I knew that there would be a period where I would probably lose my hearing, more so in my left ear than in my right ear. And my wife and I took sign language classes, both ASL 101 and ASL 102 out of the Chandler Gilbert Community College, to help us prepare for what I believed at the time was going to be inevitable, where I would lose my hearing loss. It was in late 2012 that all hearing turned off, and I retired from Intel because I couldn't hear tool alarms anymore. I worked inside the fab. If they had a tool alarm and we had like 12 tools in a row, I'd walk up and down the aisle trying to figure out which one was screaming at me. So it got very frustrating for me, and I talked with management there, told them that I had a significant hearing loss. I did wear hearing aids, but directional sound was very difficult. And we decided that Intel would either put me in another position outside the fab, working on telephones, or I could take early retirement. I selected early retirement because I couldn't hear anything over the phones at the time. So off I went. My wife said very graciously, "You may take early retirement, but we're taking sign language classes." And I said, "Okay." And like I said, we went and took 2 semesters of sign language, just enough to make me dangerous. And then very late in 2012, early 2013, all sound turned off, and I couldn't no longer hear the dogs talk to me in the morning. The hearing aids were just a product of noise, is what it was. I could not distinguish any voices, and if a voice was talking to me, I could not understand what was being said. So I was very frustrated. And having been late deafened was a very traumatic period in my life. As an adult, at 62 years old, all sound turns off. You absolutely wonder why did this happen to me? And I became very angry. I was very distraught. I did not treat people probably as well as I should have. And as I look back on this part of my life, I was not a good person. I had a very strong, and I deeply respect my family support system that got me through that period. And I absolutely say today that without them, I do not know where I would have ended up. It was very, very traumatic. So as a very good technician, electronic technician at Intel after 15 years, I decided there had to be something else. My signing wasn't that good. My wife and I could communicate very well together. But at family events, if I had my brothers come up for the holidays, or if my daughter's boyfriend comes over, or my son's girlfriend comes over, you feel isolated because they cannot talk to you. There is no communication between, no dialect between you and those other people. You feel alone, you feel isolated, and in some respects, forgotten. And so it was during that time I decided that I, as a technician, I'm going to find out what's next. There's got to be something else. So I started getting smart about cochlear implants, and I made an appointment to see my primary care physician and asked if I can have an appointment with an ENT specialist here in Chandler. And it took about a month to get that appointment, but I was down there and he did a test. They did a test, a hearing test right on the spot. He says, well, let's find out what's wrong first. Let's take a look. And so they did a hearing test, and at the end of that test, with hearing aids, I had 7% speech understanding. And it was pretty bad. I was pretty far gone on the hearing aspect of it. It was about 3 months after that period that I was scheduled for surgery. And my doctor at the time, his name was Dr. Fuji, at the time he said that you are profoundly hard of hearing, but we can help you, we can get some of that back. He says, there are no guarantees here. He says, I cannot promise you this is going to work. It's going to take some work on your behalf. He says, but if you do work on it, he says, I can get you 70% back. That's 70% of your hearing back. And I said, okay, I'm not going to argue with this. Nothing or anything is better than what I have now. So we scheduled the surgery, and I went in for surgery and had a cochlear implant put in, and it's extremely a lot of work. I used audio tapes, audio books, and I would get the book from the library, and I would get the audio tape, and I would sit down. It was very nice outside. It was just in February, and I would put my feet up on a table out there, and I would take the book and start the audio tape, and I would just sit and listen and follow what the book was saying. It took about, for this year, it took about 4 books, and after the end of that 4th book, I was listening without having to follow the words in the book. So that aspect was working very well, and I was very pleased. 5 months later, I had this side done, and for the first time in probably 18 months, I'm hearing in stereo, and it's very good, very nice. So I did the same thing with the audio books, except this one took a few more, I believe. I believe this one took 6 or 7 books before I got to that point where I could just follow along. The hearing loss in this is more profound, so there was more hearing nerve damage than on the right side. So I've progressed quite well, I thought, and today if I go in and have my hearing test, I usually test right around between 80 and 85% speech understanding. So I'm very pleased with where I'm at, and I can hear. For you veterans out there, for anyone else that understands this, is that I also served on 3 different ships when I was in the Navy. And on one of my ships, I was a phone talker on the bridge. This was an LST for those people who might know that. We had two 3-inch 50 caliber guns, one to port, one to starboard. And I was on the ship for 3 years, and we do gunfire support requalification every year. Takes about 2 weeks to qualify as you're going forward. And at that time, the phone talker passes commands from the captain to gun control, and from gun control to the captain. So I maintain that level of communication. The bad part of that is I'm standing 10 or 15 feet from the gun turret with no hearing protection. So in my mind, that's why I lost my hearing. The left ear was always uncovered so I could understand what the captain was saying. Right ear was covered with the sound power phone so I could understand what gun control was saying. So, very difficult time. I used to call on my rack at night and just very loud buzzing in my ears. But it was my job, and I did it. Today, as I look back on my journey and the jobs that I've had along the way, all roads lead to where I am. So it's total acceptance of my hearing loss, and it is what it is. For I can hear, I can sit down, have dinner with my wife every evening, I can watch television, and I can talk on the telephone. Now granted, we use an abundance of assisted listening devices that help us hear clearly, and I would probably say that 90% of them work extremely well. I mean extremely well. And we get through. Most difficult times that we have is that some individuals, especially on the telephone, they don't quite understand. When you make the telephone call, you want to talk to them, you have to pause them or ask them, whoa, 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 please, I am profoundly hard of hearing. You need to slow your speech down and enunciate clearly. And after you get through that, it's pretty good. It's not bad. I called my doctor's office yesterday and had no problems. They know me there. So if I could pass on some advice to anyone who has a hearing loss, if you're wearing hearing aids, I absolutely strongly suggest that you get an annual hearing exam and that you sit down with your audiologist and talk about it. If you don't understand it, because they are somewhat confusing when you first start looking at them, have them explain it to you in detail and explain to the point where you understand it. If hearing aids are not working for you, I strongly suggest you look into cochlear implants. I will be the first one to say that they profoundly work. It's a miracle for me to have my hearing back. But we do not hear the way that we used to hear. Sound is somewhat different, and they do have their limitations. Water scares me. Pools scare me, so I don't wear my implants next to them. I take them off and I work around the pool. So, but if that's a journey that you're going to take, I would strongly suggest you need to work at it. Cochlear implants take work, and you can turn them on and you will hear something that sounds very teeny at first, but it takes time. Give yourself 90 days before you start hearing things normal again. And after that, I think you'll be very pleased. I appreciate the time. I appreciate the ability for me to share my journey. And I appreciate this. Thank you.